This is a funny little story where this guy's talking about the Monitor and the Merrimack. So you get to see a little Civil War ironclad action here. Thought that was cool. And then you really start to get like these stories get a little longer. This one here, the Ki, right? This freaking story. This guy keeps reading it, right? The Ki is for killed in action. He's got a letter. There's an older guy, an older hand. His son died in combat, right? His wife passed away at the same time. This dude just disappeared. Right? Yep, Ki killed in action. Now the thing is with this in the back, they have notes to every story, when it was printed, what it was printed in, and a little background on it, right? A spokesman for the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, the high suicide rate for World War II veterans today, at least partially, I'll go through the lack of understanding of the PTS 6 decades ago. Did you know that? The world's greatest war. These guys were killing themselves, right? Right. There was only way to contain the trauma. They never talked about it, right? A lot of those dudes were haunted. So James remembers, told me a story about that. You know, they would go to the American Legion religiously and get drunk. You still, the ones out here, you still got the little bars you can see in the basements, right? I hope they'd be sharing these stories and communicating. But if you go there, you see all the veterans just sitting seats away from each other, just sitting there and drinking. Yeah. Now this is one of the infamous stories where already the editorship is going on. Where you have obviously you had huge hospital ships. The Americans had, and you get this one guy who's being sent back as a Section 8. Right? But it's weird. The story, the guy's very, very feminine. So you see the dudes are like, what's with this dude? Wait, he acts like a Dane. Right? It's just, is he crazy? You can't outright back then. The editor, they're like, yeah, you're not going to show that this dude is like, It's just a bizarre little story. But, he turns into, killing machine. Yeah. It's interesting, right? This man with a beautiful soul. He's good at Class B medical discharge. Toro had gone insane. That's a cool friggin' blade, though. But anyway, it's separate from that. Very interesting story. Obviously, Sam was trying to, there's things, obviously, in the Navy, right? In the Navy, right? Well, here's another interesting note here, right? Some Daily Cause jerk off. Are you serious? Your name is Chris Love? Talking about homosexuality during World War II, about some author, right? So it's interesting what I always tell you, right? Like San Francisco, you have all these men together. Because, it's a way station out to the Pacific during the war, bringing all the people together. Okay? Leaving their small towns, experience gay and lesbian culture they never knew existed. Now, whatever. This is part of life here. But it's just interesting how you see the development, right? It's celebrate tolerance, right? Because especially in the Navy, but it helped solidify gay and lesbian identity, right? World War II spawned many activists, right? So essentially, you're seeing right here, we gays and lesbians have much to owe to World War II. Are you sure you want to say something like that, my friend? Do you understand the implications of that? Separate from all the, do you see what I'm getting at? Okay, I'm not jumping on something that says, that's been part of history since the beginning. But you see the war, right? Always the war, right? Centralizing many, many things that were to blossom later, not particularly good things either in the long run, as it looked at, as it was seen. The Victorians handled this a lot better. But anyway, I don't want to belabor that. And this was really, poetry. Sam did this. Right? You see these guys. Why the mask, funny man? Because of the smell. Why the rubber gloves, funny man? Because of the blood. What are you doing, funny man? I'm collecting dog food, flesh and bones, blood and guts. Dog food for the dogs. No, funny man, you are collecting dog tags. Yes, I'm collecting dog tags. Dog tags. But funny man, why don't you cry? Because I'm collecting dog food. And here's one. Especially the fires used to have in these things, man. Johnny fried, Johnny died. I cried. Johnny, I cried. Oh God, Johnny died. As an example, right? Cremated. Every one of them. One of them still alive. This poor son of a bitch. And you just see the guy's hallucinations as he's hopefully fucking passes with those burns. But he keeps thinking of his dog. And what's left of his mind. And this one here with a guy, he's had enough. He wants to get out with these friggin' battles. Alright. War is a frightening thing. And there are no cowards in war, for it can cripple a brave man's body or his mind. So now here, this is now the 80s, I believe. This is in the Marvel anthology, Savage Tales. So now his art is really, really developed. I believe he's inking himself. But of course, it's black and white. It's one of those big magazines for the older kids at the time. And that's Sam there. Sam became a motorcycle enthusiast, moved upstate New York, lived at a homestead, and did his comics, man. And this story here, you got the Marines. They're talking about the trauma here. Right? They obviously set some Japanese prisoners. Near the end, they started surrendering more and more. That's a whole other story. But you see all the battles. You see the kamikaze. You see right. So they're collecting these guys, and then this Marine just starts shooting all these Japanese prisoners. Right, the guy fucking slack-jawed. What the fuck are you gonna do? You see something like this. Now, link to that story is a note in the back on the story itself. See, now it's already in the Marvel Comics magazine, right? The American policy in some parts of the Pacific Theater not to take prisoners of war. He quotes the diaries of Charles Lindbergh, the American aviation pioneer who toured the Far East visiting United States units. Right? He did more than that, but on one occasion, he commented to a group of senior officers that very few Japanese seemed to be taken prisoner. "Oh, we could take more if we wanted to," one of the officers replies, "but our boys don't like to take prisoners. It doesn't encourage the arrested to surrender when they hear their buddies being marched out on the flying field and machine guns turned loose on them." Although Lindbergh was sympathetic to the Nazis, and was suspected of deliberately portraying his fellow countrymen in a very negative light, his allegations are supported by other American diarists who report that the Marines in particular did not take many prisoners. Professor Arach all discovered new diaries showing the American generals worried about the abuse of human remains by their troops. They were particularly concerned the skulls of the dead Japanese soldiers were often displayed as gruesome mascots by some units, while Marines made a specialty of collecting ears. Well, didn't they send a skull to FDR? You want me to get into that? No, you don't. Yeah, this story, there's a guy, you see, this young dude, he's a loner, but he got along with everybody, and then somebody remembered, then he got transferred from the destroyer. So apparently, and in one of the few stories you see here, they actually crashed into a German U-boat where the U-boat crew came out and started attacking the ship. Yeah, the guy's fighting with a mob. So, holy jeez. And that young guy, he actually was one of the guys that got wounded pretty bad. But the whole thing with the story, though, was it was an anecdote. Right? It was a story that somebody told Sam. Right? But the ship eventually ran out of luck. Right? His wound was severe this time, a head wound. Reuben James was never quite well after that. Right? So you see this young man, right? the devil, right, of today. So unless he's gay, right? And then you see Rubin was 67 in 1986, right? This is when New York is as crime filled as you got. When I last saw him living in the streets of New York City, his eyes were dull and there was no smile on his lips. If you lived in New York at the time, you may have seen him. This could have been him. Or this. A long time ago, Reuben James was a clean-cut, smiling young man who fought for his country, his flag, for democracy, for peace, for... And then you see these dudes, hey, yo, man, give me your money. Hey, club the sticky bum. Yeah, kick his wormy guts out. Torch him. Now, Sam wisely uses a silhouette here, if you get what I'm saying. You think of what happened on Ward's Island on Halloween that one time. Anybody, my old New Yorker people, remember that? And this is how, in the Star Spangled Banner chimes, shall we over the land of the free and home of the brave, right? Now, of course, there's a note to this, as infuriating as that is, okay? To the thing, home of the brave, right? Website devoted to the experience of veterans of the home for shit. In the fall of '46, the distinguished journalist Agnes E. Myers surveyed vets from around the country and estimated that more than 2 million were without work, floating in a vacuum of neglect, idleness, and distrust. Even Bradley wondered, could it be the veterans were already being forgot when the war had been ended only in 6 months? It was not a rhetorical question. Unemployment among veterans as the nation's labor force is triple that of civilians. That's all well and good, but as you see, the guy's problems was more than he just didn't have a job. I'm referring to the PTSD story, the other story, and even the one with the Toro, just too many guys, and it happens again and again, and these war pigs still want you to send your boy to go over, okay? Anyway, let me stop. Yeah, this one is just like, some Marine. There's these mountain apes there. I don't know what kind of apes they're. I don't know what they're technically chimps, but this one's here stealing stuff, and he thinks he's a little monkey. He's like, yeah, you little skirt, yeah, they're playing the game. He whacks him with his helmet, and everybody thinks it's funny. Well, you know how how strong these apes are, right? This fucking thing, right? Tossed him around like a rag doll, shredding his flesh, screams of pain and terror, excited to eat more, right? He thinks he's fighting another ape. He is. Oh my god, finally they friggin' blast him, but this dude, woof. To round it out, I like when this one was just literally, it's just a chronology of the Pacific War, the things that happened, the events, a date which will live in infamy, speak like that, and hey, dugout Doug, huh? I don't want you to think. I know sometimes I seem to be reflexively taking the other side. I feel for these these American dudes. What the hell are you gonna do? You end up in a war, especially this war. You literally almost seemed like an alien world, and instigated just so you could get into another war on the other side of the planet, which was the real objective. There you go. Firebomb, March 9th to 10th. Cappy's Cow, Tokyo, right? Planned by LeMay without official approval or permission. Right. And of course, the big ones. And then the other one, you always forget Nagasaki. It doesn't. I guess it doesn't roll off the lips. I don't know. I think it does, but anyway, these there he is as a young man. Yeah, dude, Sam, man. And you see all, Atlanta. Remember this thing he did? Him and Timothy Truman did great Jonah Hex Lovecraft type stories. But anyway, just man. Yeah, Sam, one of the best, dude. One of the best. Almost redeemed. Does redeem the comic art form, or the American comic art form.